Doing great. Let's see who all jumps on. Charlie and Lee Kenton. Hello, lads. Charlie, I saw some peaceful protesting in the Netherlands this weekend. What was going on with that? It seems that it was some lockdown stuff. Tally, how you doing? What is up? Wow, everyone's rolling in. Lee, I hope you're doing quite well. Let's just see if our mod General Jen is over in Periscope. Jared Allen, how you doing, buddy? So, Jared Allen, I have a question for you. Is Missouri more of a ketchup-based barbecue place, or is it more of the Carolina vinegar-based style? Can you fill me in on that? I'm trying to figure that out. Egan from Florida, how are you doing? Charlie says not very peaceful. Yeah, it didn't look very peaceful. There is Jennifer is in Periscope land. Mod General Jen is here. All right. You sound like you drink too much. Who are you referring to, Charlie? Are you referring to me? In fact, I will have you know that yes, in my past, I have been known to drink a little bit. However, I am in my 40s. I am more into my morning coffee and just getting started. I'm happy to see everybody. I'm happy that we got the sound is not right. I don't understand, Tali. I'm sorry to hear that. Jennifer says, "Don't start none." Lynn Fritz. Hello from Wisconsin. Well, Lynn Fritz from YouTube land. Hello and welcome. Great. No, there's something wrong with technical. Yeah, I don't understand, guys. Here's what I'll do. Static, lots of static. I'll start it over again. Let's see how that works for you guys. And delete video. And let's try it again over there in Instagram land. The guys over in Instagram are having some issues. There we go. I started it over. Hi, I have a great voice. Well, thank you very much, Jennifer. It's certainly unique. Well, we could say that. We could say that. All right, guys, how is that? Does that sound any better, Tally, Jaren? They should come over to Periscope. Yeah. How's that, guys? Does that sound better? Nope, not working. I can't catch a break, guys. Blood, sweat, and silks. How are you doing? Static. Still blurry sound. I don't know what to tell you, guys. I can't catch a break lately with any of this. However, Jennifer says that we're going strong at Periscope land. So, yeah, I don't know what to tell you guys. I'm going to have to look into that. I don't know. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. Pull the plug, wiggle the cord. I don't know, guys. I don't know what to tell you. Well, that's awfully disappointing. Yeah, you can join Jen over in Periscope land if that's the case. Jen, you might be finding some people. Missed you guys. Soldier on, just pretend we're from the future. All right. It's distorted, but we can still hear it. Okay, well, great. Let's just go it that way. Jennifer says smack it a bit. I bet. Of course, Jennifer. All right, here we go, guys. Oh, Christina, welcome. It's good to see you too. I had watched your snacks on Instagram this week. So, guys, this week, it's Monday. We have the Patrick McGinnis episode that has been released. If you haven't checked it out, please do. I really enjoyed it. Patrick wrote the book, Fear of Missing Out. He has a podcast, which is the FOMO Sapiens, which is the fear of missing out, and his show, FOMO Sapiens. I really enjoyed the book. It was great. It does a lot of talking about the fear of missing out and or the fear of a better offer. So, of course, in this world that we're in, we are inundated with information, an overwhelming amount of choice and options. And we have found ourselves waiting for the best offer or waiting for the next thing, the next best thing to come along. And certainly with all that, that puts us in a position to not take action. And I got to say, guys, it's going to be difficult to see your results of anything if you're unable or unwilling to take action. And the problem with taking action is that if you hastily do it, you're bound to make a lot of mistakes. You're bound to make a lot of errors. However, that's what life is about. And the minute you can get excited about diving in and making mistakes and have a good sense of humor about it is the perfect crowbar that you need to unwedge yourself, to unstuck yourself so that you can create momentum for yourself. You know, I use this show all the time as an example. And once again, I decided to go live when coronavirus started as an opportunity to document my thoughts in a historical event, as well as connect to the listeners and fans of The Art of Charm. And with that, I had made plenty of mistakes. And look at today. We have audio cutting in and out for the Instagram folks. It's difficult. It's scary. I don't know what's going to happen every time I turn this on live. Sometimes my mod general Jen doesn't show up. Sometimes video's not working. Sometimes sound's not working. Sometimes animal is being a pain in the morning. Sometimes I don't get enough coffee. Sometimes I have too much coffee. Sometimes I don't have thoughts together. It's all part of the fun. You got to get comfortable with being able to laugh at yourself and your circumstances and use these opportunities as growing experiences, as an opportunity to be that much better. If you can look at things from that perspective, if you can look at your life from that perspective, then everything becomes fun. And life needs to be fun. Why? Without waking up and understand the opportunities that you have in front of you, it's incredibly difficult to want to get out of bed. It is going to be your perspective and your thirst and excitement for life that's going to dictate those moods. So back in my 20s as a musician, I wasn't into self-development yet. I was only after my own glory. I was only after my own well-being and my own excitement. And I was on the hedonic treadmill like any young boy or girl. And with that, without that forward thinking or perspective of how I was going out into the world, every day became much more harder to get excited about because I hadn't framed it for myself as opportunities to create a world that I wanted to live in. I was only waking up to see what I could do in that day to make a little bit of money for myself work-wise, but also to avoid having to do any sort of forward thinking, delayed gratification, all of those type of things. But the minute I got involved in self-development, shifted priorities, shifted focus, and been able to craft my own perspective, one that allowed me to get excited about waking up, well then, of course, every day became exciting. I, in my 20s, would go to bed when I passed out, when I got bored, when I got tired, only to be dragging ass the next day. As I had gotten older, as I got into self-development, I was able to craft a perspective that allowed me to go to bed excited about what the next day brought. So with that, I suggest check out the Patrick McGinnis episode. Check out The Fear of Missing Out. It's a great episode. We had a lot of fun, and we did a lot of talking about how to work with FOBO, fear of best offer, and FOMO, fear of missing out. And certainly one of the things that we talked about in the show was having that mission so that when you wake up in the morning, you can get after it. You can start making your way towards your end goals. And that's a really difficult thing in today's world where you have so many options. People tend to put off that decision until they find the one that works for them. But the later you wait in life, I think it becomes more difficult to get your life on track. And so let me explain this out. When I was a young man, 10 years old, I knew what I wanted to be when I grew up. I wanted to play music. I wanted to play rock and roll. I thought that idea, that was my being an astronaut, being a fireman, being a cop. I wanted to play music. It was in my house. My dad's band rehearsed downstairs. That idea was very exciting to me as a kid. So every day that I woke up, I followed what I thought was that path to realize my dreams. Get into bands, learn how to play my instrument better, learn recording process, write songs. Also, what came with that was living a lifestyle of a crazy rock and roller that I thought would enhance the songwriting process, would enhance the character that people would want to see perform. And you could see where after a while of living in that manner, it's easy to get lost or carried away in a certain persona. And I think all of us have that difficulty. Jennifer says she's there 80% of the time. This is so dating in Los Angeles. Oh, don't get me started. However, as I got in my 20s, the mission had changed for myself when I had gotten in self-development and wanted to help others and build the art of charm into something that would be able to change the lives and minds to many of the folks that would listen to it. Well, that became the goal. That became the direction and the perspective of waking up every day and thinking about how to get closer to that goal. And when I think about that, one of the things that I have realized in talking to young people for the last close to 2 decades now with the art of charm is how many young folks are scared to make those decisions in life because of the fear of missing out. If I choose a goal, if I choose a mission, then I'm not going to be able to take up opportunities to do other things in life. That's how people tend to think about choosing a path. Well, if I choose a path, then I can't go down other paths. Your 20s should be about experimentation. Your 20s should be about doing as much as possible to find out what you're really excited about. You know, Jennifer mentions about dating in Los Angeles. Let me ask you this, Jen. How easy is it for you to know when you've been on a date with a potential boyfriend that you've realized that he hasn't lived enough yet and therefore putting yourself in a relationship with somebody who hasn't lived enough yet is off the tables because you want them to sow their wild oats before they have met you. Right? It's an experience. If people don't have enough life experience, how are they able to set in to a role later in life? This is why trend hopping is so popular with young kids, to ride the wave, to get caught up in excitement of movements and what's going on culturally. We have a huge cultural shift going on right now. How many of you guys, when you look out into the movement that's going on, see a lot of trend hoppers? There's certainly a lot of trend hoppers. Why? It's exciting. There's energy there. Young folks are attracted to that. For myself, when I was younger, for me, those cultural shifts in the 90s there was a cultural shift to extreme sports. Yes, skateboarding and rollerblading and BMXing and the X Games, all these things came into play. There was also a cultural shift when I was younger from big rock and roll radio, they called it stadium rock, to a more grassroots intellectual college radio scene, where then the music industry and the music scenes had a niche in college towns that was unique and special to them. Those were, and though I look back at them, they're at those movements, they weren't as earth shaking and world moving as some of the movements that we're seeing today. But also, you have to understand how cultural shifts work and how they get swept up. Right now, we have a perfect storm of media and corporations getting caught up in the movement or cultural shift at the time as well. So it seems like it's on all sides. However, even when I was younger, the cultural shifts that I was a part of, that was in my 20s, corporations bought into it. They signed up all the college bands that were doing quite well and gave them large budgets and cut off all their edginess and polished them up and sold them back to us. Where at that point, they became part of the corporate machine, and their edge and their interest had dulled on us. When I look at the movement that is going on right now with a lot of energy in the streets, of course, everyone's sitting in a house for 3-4 months due to a pandemic and not being able to socialize is going to play its role on young folk. And they're out there. They're upset about a lot of things. But also their movement, the young people's movement that was going on right now, is also being co-opted by so many different forces. It's difficult to understand what the movement is anymore. We have the chop zone in Seattle. There is a million different things that you can attribute to the reason that is, and the movement is being held there. Evidently, it's like another Occupy, but that's only one of the reasons or causes that it is. We still have monuments, statues that are being torn down in cities all across America. How many different forces and reasons are being played into that movement, cultural shift? Corporations have bought into it. They're now taking back packaging that had been, for myself, my perspective and the way I view it, as cultural breakfast and dinner mainstays in American dinner tables for 50, 60, 70, I don't even know how many decades. I find that it's incredibly interesting. Am I a fan of it? I love tradition. I love history. So just to go down and yank things off the table and bring down statues is certainly not my thing. Could there be debates made of what to do with some of those statues, putting them in a museum? All of those types of things are on the table. Just ripping them down, I find is a bit brash. But then again, so is youth movements are quite brash. Youth don't wait for anything, and I like seeing civil disobedience. It lets us all know that rebellion and teen angst is in the air, which is one of the most powerful forces next to the need and want to procreate, which you could say that teen angst and rebellion has a lot of sexual frustration and drive entangled in it as well. And those forces, if not directed properly, will be channeled in ways that a lot of us are not going to enjoy, but we have to pay attention to. We have to understand. Today's movement is so over the top. Yes, it is. I believe it is incredibly over the top, Jennifer. But when you're dealing with youth movements, they tend to be that way. Here's two youth movements in my life. So one was, the college radio thing. I also let you guys know that when I was a teenager, Los Angeles and its music scene of poofy-haired 80s glam rocker bands was saturated on the radio, on television, and marketing was completely co-opted, and that scene had its own unique, humble beginnings of disenfranchised youth here in Los Angeles. That scene had then got co-opted. The corporations bought into that scene. It blew it up till every band in America moved to LA to have a piece of the pie, to be caught up, to have a chance in that moment for their own set in the sun. It had gotten so saturated and so silly that its antithesis in music, which they called grunge at the time, which was part of that college rock scene, had completely shocked the whole system. And now when I talk about it, some of you guys might have a laugh about that, but it was huge. It shifted the music scene that was held for most of the decade. So much so that all of those bands and all of those record labels overnight had shifted their focus and dropped all of them. And that shift extended through corporations, marketing. It became so uncool to be poofy-haired rock and roll dudes from the 80s and the 90s, to where they were almost seen as the scourge of the music scene. I mean, that is just intel of how youth movements go. And guess what? Within 5 years, the grunge movement had gotten so watered down, so saturated with more money and corporations than trend hopping onto that scene and wiping it out. And I had brought this up to a friend so we're seeing these cultural shifts. We're seeing this movement in America and across Europe and the West. We have already seen corporations putting their fingers into it. How long till they sap the energy and the edge and the coolness that the kids are finding in it out of this movement? And the fact that we have the internet that is so prevalent, I see that trends seem to come and go faster than they ever have. And kids jump on a trend one day and it's out the next. You see it on YouTube. You see it as in news cycles as well. How many of you guys trying to keep up with what's going on in the world have eventually just quit looking at social media altogether? A, it's completely narcissistic and toxic. And two, it is moving so fast, it's incredibly difficult to keep up. It's moving so fast that these ideas, ideals, marketing, slogans, corporations are contradicting themselves and showing their hypocrisy within hours. How can you take anyone seriously who is contradicting themselves within hours, within minutes? It just goes to show just how quickly and how fast things are moving. And I don't know about you guys, but I stayed quite low on social media this week as in order to enjoy my weekend. All right, guys. So I would check out the Patrick McGinnis episode this week, and it dropped this morning. It is great. I really enjoyed it. He's a lot of fun. Also, if you enjoyed what I had to speak about today on missions and belonging and trend hopping, I'll be here all week discussing a lot of other stuff. Guys, send me your questions. Also, if you enjoyed the show, if you enjoy what we had to speak about today, check out the Communication Accelerator. It is in a link tree in our description and above, and the description in YouTube. It has all of our best for every driven introvert with connection, influence, and networking. So I'm going to head out. Let's go through the like Darth Father. What was that mentioned, Charlie? I hope, guys, is it still being distorted on Instagram? If so, I'll try to restart my phone. Soldier on and pretend. Yeah, I'm sorry about that, guys. All right. So, Jennifer, thank you very much. I'm glad that things are working over there in Periscope land today. I will see you guys tomorrow morning. Oh, this week on Wednesday, I will not be here as I have another marketing meeting, but I will be here the rest of the days this week. Thank you, Jaron. I want all of you guys to have a wonderful week. Have a beautiful Monday. Check out the Patrick McGinnis episode, and I will see you guys tomorrow.